My job is just to start pointing out all the slippery slopes that talent is on. So you got on one already. You're like, yeah, anybody who's a criminal. But I'm like, well, what, speeding? But now you've run into a problem. You got all these people that want to come here and there's not enough space. So how do you make it fair? If I'm your mom and I'm sitting at the table, I'm like, talent, I can't pay your tuition bill because these Mexican guys are putting me out of work. And you're going, what would you say to her?
I actually agree with him that a felony line of, if you commit a felony, this is the point at which I would be uncomfortable and like you should be deported or something, because
I don't think money should be a deciding factor on who deserves a better livelihood and who doesn't.
But it is on all immigration policy. The way we talk about immigration, the way I hear it discussed out in the media and among people and so on, is that it's really like a national divide between, good people and bad people, or moral people and immoral people, and compassionate people and uncompassionate people. It's just a divide about that. It gets narrowed down into singular issues. So we're really at an impasse about very narrow range of issues. And the only way to understand the impasse, to really understand the issue, this immigration, is to really see the many, many different facets that go into immigration as an issue. I'm picking out a whole bunch of them. If you look at all these issues, man, it is a lot of things that are going on. And frankly, these are the two that we're talking about all the time. It's morality and justice and law and stability. And if you lean left, it's all about morality and justice. And if you lean right, it's all about law and stability. But look at all these other ones that are part of this. If immigration were really this simple, we'd have resolved it a long time ago. So first off, in what ways is immigration, and we can look at legal and illegal, you can take legal first. In what ways is it fair and unfair?
Our immigration system's terrible. There's a lot of things that are going on with ICE-related incidents that is very, very, very hard to watch and hear about, but I do think there's the precedence where if you do something illegal, there is some sort of action that has to be taken.
Okay, so you've already said, so there's something unfair. What's unfair? You said it's hard to watch. Like, does that mean it's unfair, or?
Yeah, I think it's completely unfair that anybody's lives had been taken in any sort of way, especially by ICE, because that is the main thing that everybody sees today. Okay,
and then people who are breaking the law just by being here and being sent out of the country, which is what ICE is doing. How is that? Is that fair or is that unfair?
Criminals should not be here, as everybody, I think, would agree.
Okay. All right,
but I wouldn't say coming in illegally is you're a felon, you have to be kicked out.
Okay, so what constitutes a criminal? Who's a criminal?
Anybody who does something maliciously towards another person, I would constitute as a criminal.
Well, hang on, man. That would be like cheating on an exam in here because...
To an extreme effect, like murder, fraud, theft.
So first off, right, you just got on a very slippery slope, okay? My job is just to start pointing out all the slippery slopes that talent is on. So you got on one already. You're like, yeah, anybody who's a criminal. But I'm like, well, what, speeding is like identity theft, stealing someone's finding money on the ground and keeping it? Like, what's a criminal?
Like I said, I would say more extreme things I would classify as something punishable, not necessarily stealing a $20 bill off the ground.
Okay, well, now you got, let's go with a felony, right? Shoplifting felony. Let's say you shoplift $990 worth of items. That's a misdemeanor. But it's $11 more, it's a felony. So is a misdemeanor or a felony? Like, how about that? You got an immigrant, and you got to decide, okay, how about that?
Are they a citizen, or are they...
They're an immigrant. They're undocumented, let's say. And they're the people, you're watching ICE grab them out of their car because we're not going to talk about ICE this whole time. You brought it up. So ICE is grabbing this person out of their car. Their child's hanging onto the legs. But they committed a felony because they stole $1,001 worth of goods. And then over here, ICE is dragging someone out of their car, and they stole $990 worth of goods, which is a misdemeanor. And you're like, wait, that's a misdemeanor. Wait, that's a felony. So,
Yeah, I don't really have a certain line that you have to cross to decide who gets to stay and leave.
Okay, so how about, to what degree is legal immigration fair? Just legal immigration. Like we bring a certain number of people in every year.
The United States is a place that majority of people want to be if you do not live here. I have friends who are from Brazil who say their family, their end goal is to move to America. And I would say most people would die on that hill that they want to become an American one day. But the immigration system is very limited. Getting any sort of citizenship and like a green card, that's very difficult. And I think becoming a citizen is very difficult. But I do think most people deserve a chance, but aren't given that chance.
But now you've run into a problem. You got all these people that want to come here, and there's not enough space. So how do you make it fair?
It takes a long time, from my knowledge, to get citizenship. Whenever you're going to apply, it takes a very long time. Could take years. I think there has to be some quicker rate to get people into the United States, or in some cases be denied for some sort of extreme case. But
so what do you do about the fact then that you have these rapid changes in some communities? Immigrants tend to come in waves. You go where your relatives are, where people are, which is why you suddenly, you've got like 5 families from Somalia suddenly in this community in Minnesota. And then like 6 months later, you got 50. And you're like, how do we go from 5 to 50? So the problem is, if you do that, then suddenly you got these waves of people, and you got all these other people living here who are going, wait, what the hell? I suddenly got all these Malaysians or Somalis or whatever. So that feels really unsettling for people. So, all right.
I don't mind diversity in any way. I don't think waves of people coming in is a bad thing necessarily.
Okay, but how about this? Let's look at undocumented immigration. Who's it fair to? Let's start there. Who's it fair to?
I think it's good for the economy in many ways. The more people we get, no matter if you're legal or illegal, undocumented, whatever way you want to phrase it, I think the more people, the better the economy.
Who's it unfair to?
It's unfair to everybody trying to do it in the immigration system who's jumping the system and thinking they're above it.
Okay, so it's unfair to people who are in the system going like, I've been waiting 6 years for my green card, and this person comes over, and under the Biden administration, for example, people were coming up to the border for a certain number of months, and they applied and immediately got like some kind of, it wasn't a green card, but they got like put in line in a way. It's like, to get a green card, it's like, that wasn't fair to all those people who've been waiting 5 or 6 years. How about when undocumented immigrants undercut wages? Your dad's a carpenter, right? And your dad's making, $50 an hour, let's say. And you got these guys coming up from Mexico going like, yeah, man, I'll build that shed for you for $800. And your dad's like, I'll build it for $4,000. So who's it unfair to?
I don't really know how to answer that, because if they're offering to do it for a cheaper price and they are willing to do it, I don't see what the issue is.
Your mom's a carpenter. She's not in a union because where she works, there's no union. But the prevailing wage basically is $55 an hour. And she's bringing food home, food on the table, right? These guys from Ecuador, right? They come up, they get in the country, they come to your community, and they start going around with little sheets of paper going like, hey, man, we'll build sheds for you. It's your mom's specialty, right? She's bringing food home for the table, bro. She's paying your college tuition. And they come up, and they're like, yeah, they sneak in the border. They sneak in the country. And then they're like, yeah, okay, we'll do it for half the price of her. If I'm your mom and I'm sitting at the table, I'm like, Talon, I can't pay your tuition bill because these Mexican guys are putting me out of work. And you're going, what would you say to her?
I don't know what I would say. I wouldn't take legal action. I wouldn't go report them.
No, I got you. But would you feel like, oh man, that really sucks?
Yeah, that would absolutely suck for anybody in that situation. But
would you say, no, you're in the situation. I just put you in the situation. Would you say like, yeah, it's kind of unfair, man. Like, now I got to drop out of school and go work. I'll go work with the Mexican guy, the Ecuadorian guys. You all get this, right? Talon's in an impossible situation here because no matter what he says, no matter what you say, I'm going to come up with some other opposite thing. So like, he'd probably feel like it was unfair though.
When you're specifically talking about some immigrant coming in and offering their services for a lesser value, there's actually a term for that in economics. It's called dumping, and it's extremely illegal. Like, your country can get sued for that sort of thing. It's usually not for labor or anything like that, but labor is a good or service that can be traded. So I would absolutely be angry on like a legal level if that sort of thing happened to my family. I actually agree with him that a felony line of, if you commit a felony, this is the point at which I would be uncomfortable and like you should be deported or something, because people are going to skirt the line no matter what that line is. If somebody is skirting the line and they're going to shoplift $990, you can't stop them. They're going to skirt that line no matter where you put that line. And a felony line should be a line where we go, at what point is somebody not trying to game the system, crossing a line at which point they should be punished for over a year in prison? And I think at that point, if you are an immigrant and you're crossing that line, then yeah, like you probably aren't a net positive in this country. So I actually do think that line is fair.
Well, do you agree with that?
there shouldn't be a line that you cross and then you go from being in America to out of the United States to out of it.
All right. So it's one thing if I step over the border and you apprehend me and you're like, nah, dude, go back. All right? Because I was at the border. I see how it works. It's pretty simple. But it's another thing if I get all the way here and I start working and I have a livelihood. My family's here and all that. So how do you make a distinction there between who you kick out and who you don't?
I don't really have an idea of what you would do if somebody has a life and a family. That's one of the things I really have a hard time dealing with whenever I hear about what ICE is doing, because there's people getting taken away from their kids.
So there's some people, should it matter though? I mean, does it really matter? If you're going to solve the immigration, it's like you got to solve it. You can't start getting into this gray area here. You just got to make stuff happen.
I think there needs to be some sort of standard of what is going to be forgivable and what's not. I don't know if that's a time frame of how long you're going to be here, or if it's the second you walk across the border, you have to leave once you get quote-unquote found.
Okay. So let me ask you this question. What is the likelihood that you could come to an agreement with, if I pick out 5 random people in class, what's the likelihood that the 6 of you could come up to some kind of agreement about what would be acceptable and what wouldn't be?
Probably 0%.
Okay, so now we got an issue here, right? Because now we're continuing on the slippery slope. It's like, oh, I know, I'm with you, right? Because I think the same thing. Like, yeah, we got to come up with some standard. Well, we can't even come up with a standard for anything, man. We're arguing about the stupidest, silliest stuff. Like, how are we going to do that? Bro, you're doing a good job, though, by the way, bro. Yeah.
I think the solution for illegal immigration is not more illegal immigration.
Wait, hang on, though. Hang on. That's way too big, my friend.
I'm trying to get there. What's not fair would be to anyone that has gone through the system, are now in the country, had to pay money, had to come into the country legally, for somebody else to come into the country and not have to do anything. Because one, that puts you in a worse financial position if you do come to the country legally. You are now basically starting from square one with nothing, as opposed to someone that walked across the border. Maybe they have, money in a suitcase that they bring over and they can start a new life right away. Instead of, and again, some people will come over and have to live on the streets. So it's not fair to the people that come to the country legally, and it's also not fair to the illegal immigrants that can't start a life right away and have to live on the streets. I don't think we should be able to allow illegal immigrants, hey, yeah, they're in the country, but they're still living on the streets. I don't think that's good.
How about the fairness between, I think President Trump offered visas, green cards to people who could pay $1 million or something like that. What about that? Like rich people, you pay $1 million, but you over here I talked to a guy, I was down in Mexico, so this guy was from Guatemala, and I started asking him about his life in Guatemala. Dude, basically, he had a plot of land about as large as that screen, okay? And Guatemala, where he lived, was in a drought. So it's like, his children were starving. He had 3 kids. Children were starving. He's like, I'm going to get up. I got to feed my kids. I'm going to do whatever I got to do, right? We say, okay, you're not going to do it. You're not coming in. Oh, but you can. You got $1 million? I give that to us, man. Hey, we'll give you a green card. Okay. Is that fair? How fair is that?
I don't think money should be a deciding factor on who deserves a better livelihood and who doesn't.
But it is on all immigration policy. If you got money, you're more like, there are a lot of people in this classroom, man, who you're here at Penn State because your parents have money. And you're a lot of your classmates right here. They're only here because their parents have money. So
yeah, I don't think it's fair, but it doesn't really change what's happening.
Okay, so it's not fair, but it's how the world works. It's all about money. So it's like, well, how else are you going to do it? Why not? Isn't that, in a way, the most fair way? If you can afford it? I mean, it's another consideration, right? The guy I was talking to, I don't remember his name. He didn't speak any English. He never got a chance to learn English. But, you got people in this classroom they speak English fluently because they come from families with money. I had a student 2 semesters ago who was in this position, in this classroom. Their parents brought her here illegally when she was a little kid. She still didn't have her paperwork. It's not her fault. I didn't ask to come here. She doesn't speak the language of her home country. She didn't have any relatives back in her home country. She has nowhere to go. And we're like, yeah, but whatever, you're illegal. We're going to send you back. How about that?
I don't think that's fair to have to kick a child who was brought over out. I think that's a really tough topic to really.
Okay, but we've already said, though, that she jumped the line ahead of other people. So she's not operating in a fair way because she got something just because her parents grabbed her and came to the U.S.
But then it goes back to where are we going to draw the line of how long are you going to be here to make you immune to getting.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I guess I would question whether making it easier for illegal immigrants to come in, being unfair to legal immigrants really matters. Because I think of if you have a weed conviction, and I think that putting you in jail and putting that out a felony is absurd. And in some sense, it's unfair for people to have a weed conviction to now be able to smoke weed legally. But that's not an argument to say that you shouldn't decriminalize weed. It's just
all right. Okay, so you have that. You have someone who breaks the law 5 years ago that is no longer illegal today, right? How about that?
I don't really have any strong feelings on that.
You would if you had to write the policy, right? I got you. I hear that, man. So now what we've done, we've taken this morality and justice conversation and we've really complicated it. Okay.
I expected the student to be more or less emotional in his answering and be more just, you understand? Because when you break the law, you break the law, regardless of your reason. Your reason might be perfect, might be good, your story might be awesome, but what did you do? Did you break the law? Yes. What is the consequence of breaking the law? Deportation. That is it. And let's stop justifying the fact that you did this because of this and this. You broke the law. So he's trying to be emotional about his answers, and the lecturer is trying to make him reason instead of using your emotion. Use your head to answer certain questions. You understand? Because using your heart, trying to be compassionate for people keep on taking advantage of it. So the best thing is, when the law is set, people need to adhere to that law. If you enter America illegally, you are supposed to be deported. Because there are several people who are waiting in line. My auntie and her family got citizenship in the United States. I think that was last year. It did not just happen. They waited for years. They entered the country legally. They did everything right, and they were able to get their citizenship. That is the beauty of it. But when you cut corners, you understand, you jump the line. You prevent people that have been waiting from getting this citizenship. And to me, I feel it's not fair. If we are to do things the right way, then everyone needs to follow due process. I remember when Donald Trump came into power, he was like, okay, if you want to be a citizen, if you have $1 million, we can give you the good card. I was like, it's a good deal. But to me, I felt like there are people that are there that have not, what's it called? They are in the country illegally, and they can't even afford that $1 million. But the truth is, every year or every time things change. That is the only thing that is constant, which is change. So if last year people were not able to buy their citizenship with $1 million, and this year they can, it shows that is what change can do. The same way a few years back smoking weed was totally illegal. But right now, if you have what it takes, let's say medical prescription or something, you are allowed to buy weed. Things are changing. And that is the world we are living in. So there are certain things in my country that was frowned at a few years ago, and now it's legal. People do it, and there is no consequence for it. That is the life. But that does not change the fact that when you jump the border, you should be welcomed in with open hands. No. If Americans keep on allowing people to jump the border, Americans will lose the value it had. Because you can't keep control of whoever is coming to your country. You can't monitor people that are coming in. And it might lead to, something else. It might lead to a country whereby you don't even know the official language because everyone speaks whatever they want to speak. You don't know the mental health of people coming in because you can't keep account of it. You can't know their backstory, their criminal record. Now the country will be in a place whereby people cannot even live in the night because you might be mocked. I've seen this happen in my country whereby our northern border were not protected. Now we have a whole lot of criminal organization in my country simply because a whole lot of foreigners are coming in and there is no due process, there is no documentation to know, is this person really from this country? This person not from this country, and they are committing atrocity. They are kidnapping. They are bombing people. They are unaliving people because we can't protect our borders, and it's becoming worse. And the funny thing is, I'm from a country where if you steal, you are arrested, you are jailed for years. But when you unalive someone as a terror, or when you are in the terrorist organization and you unalive someone, the military are showing compassion. They are feeling like, they are also our country people. They are our brothers. Remember what the prodigal son did? There was opportunity for him to come back home if he misused the money given to him by his father. I felt like, no, let's call a spade a spade. If someone can steal money and go to prison, Then when you join or a terrorist organization and you're being caught, you should also dance to the music. You shouldn't be forgiving because you're trying to welcome them in as our brother. Because these guys, when they see you, they don't have passion for you. They don't have forgiveness. They will unalive you. So why then are you trying to bring them back into the society? Get them a therapist and all. To me, I feel it's not fair because these guys have unalived so many people. That is the downside of illegal immigration. You understand, when you don't keep record of the people entering your country. And I think this guy started with cheap labor. As an immigrant, you are looking for a way to survive. You might accept jobs that normally a normal citizen will not accept because of the amount or the price tag of that job. You understand, the minimum wage. As an illegal immigrant, you feel like, okay, I think I will do this because I need the money, or it's even more than what they pay me in my country, so I'll do it. And by doing that, you mess with the workforce. You understand? You mess with the system because I think this professor asked this guy, assuming your father is a carpenter and he normally charge, let's say, $4,000 for a certain work, and an illegal immigrant is willing to do it for $800. Who do you think the client would ask to do the job? Obviously, he will need cheap labor. By doing cheap labor, you are putting people out of business. That is it. That is one of the effects of having illegal immigrants, because of they want to survive. They can do anything to survive. By doing that, you are depriving your citizens the opportunity to fend for themselves, which is not nice. Anyway, this is beautiful. I want to see more videos like this. I want students that can reason instead of being emotional. You reason with your head and not with your heart. This is beautiful. Let me know what you think in the comment section. If it's the first time visiting the channel, click on the subscribe button. Thanks for watching and remain blessed.